slaps hood of deck list. We can fit so many back to basics in this bad boy. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another legacy video, and William has asked me to build a deck around Monastery Mentor. This is a card that is near and dear to the heart of many legacy players, as a previous era of like blue-white control and miracles style decks featured it as an incredibly potent finisher. And these days, this sort of effect tends to be just fully replaced by Corey Steelcutter in Legacy. There was a time where Monastery Mentor was just a premium Legacy win condition. And now we have Monastery Mentor at home, but it's actually just probably outright better than the original Monastery Mentor. The haste on Corey Steelcutter is a big deal. The fact that it comes down a mana earlier is a big deal as well. And this fits much more easily into some of the tempo and tempo control shells that we currently have in Legacy. And actually, the deck list that I used as my starting point for this exact deck used Corey Steelcutter, where I have Monastery Mentor. However, by playing just a base blue-white deck, instead of having red, we can be even more aggressive with back to basics. And if you have been living under a rock, or just haven't been dialed into Legacy in the past 2 or 3 weeks, Tron is one of the best decks in the format right now, and it is drastically overperforming relative to how many players are actually playing it. And so just innately gunning for this deck in Game 1 right now is probably a good thing to be doing. So we're going to have a handful of counterspells and the ability to refuel via Flow State in this deck, as well as some relatively targeted sideboard consigned to memories and Lavinias as well. I've also thrown a Disruptor Flute in this deck on top of all of that, because that is how much I am valuing attacking this matchup here, because that deck is going to beat us in the long term if we just let them do their mana in one ring and Karn things unchecked. Otherwise, we're just largely playing a pile of good cards here. There's Tamiyos and Murktide Regents. We have 8 main deck 1-mana removal spells, and this is pointed at things like the Dimir Tempo and the Izzet Tempo decks. Tempo is a big part of the Legacy format right now, and the Dimir Tempo deck is one of the best performing decks in Legacy right now, and I haven't had a chance to analyze the most recent data set yet. Izzet Tempo is being played but isn't doing well, but I believe it put 2 decks into the top 8 of the Showcase Challenge, just flying in the face of that deck having a negative win rate in other recent data sets. So I need to take a closer look at that. That data just came out this morning. So that being said, let's see how it feels to just jam some Monastery Mentors. Folks, if you need any Magic cards, please consider getting them from my sponsor, TOAMagic.com, and use promo code ThrabenU when you do. That'll do 2 things. 1, you get sweet Magic cards and you get to save a little money. 2, that directly supports my content through my sponsorship with TOA. Those folks are great. Get your Magic cards there if you can. All right, let's battle. Very strange opening hand here. It has so much potential to be strong that I think I'll just keep it. Like, play a Tamiyo, it gets countered or removed. Play a Tamiyo, it gets countered or removed. Third one wins the game, is kind of the direction that I am taking this here. Volcanic Island and just passing the turn after doing the whole bobble thing. Yeah, Flow State sounds good to me. Tamiyo number 1. Daze Lightning Bolt. How are we answering this? Not answering it. Fascinating. I'll take it. Answering it around days. Acceptable. And that's just a ponder. The thing that I am most scared of is Corey Steelcutter, because it doesn't line up properly versus the 1-to-1 answer I have right now. A Prismatic Ending could answer it a little bit later on. I think I'm gonna play Tamiyo. And I think just pass. Like, I could brainstorm immediately to try to flip Tamiyo. There's some awkwardness with not having the appropriate amount of mana here. Absolutely. And I did consider adding one more land to this deck from the numbers that were on it originally. Flooded Strand comes down. Wow, like, if my opponent doesn't play a threat, we are just, like, kind of getting away with murder. Yeah, great. So opponent can redraw and is doing something else. Is it Lightning Bolt time now? Nope. It's Lightning Bolt time now. All right. Now I will Brainstorm in response. Oh, great. Some bonus mana is good here. My graveyard's pretty light. I think I'm just going to bury this Murktide Regent and not redraw it. Put a land on top. Tamiyo becomes a Planeswalker. We'll see if there's a second Lightning Bolt. There is not. So Tamiyo can immediately go up to 4. Then I will go land drop and play Creature Tamiyo. Fair and balanced Magic. At some point, my opponent starts casting Flow States, and they will catch up for the fact that they had a very weak beginning of the game here. Island comes down, and it is Murktide Regent time, which I'm not actually worried about. I do not want the Murktide Regent that is currently on top of my deck. I'm going to go ahead and fetch out my Tundra to pair with this Tundra, so that Wasteland is less of a concern. I'm going to go ahead and untap and play this card around Daze, though. So let's attempt to erode that Murktide. There is a Force of Will. Oh no. Anyway, play Tundra. Yeah. Simply put, my opponent did not play Magic the Gathering that game. They just did not do much on the first 3 turns. Playing the Murktide Regent was fine, but by that point, I already had 2 different Tamiyos in play. GG. I don't mind extra copies of Erode, I don't mind Hydroblast, and Wrath of the Skies is something that I will think about, mostly for Monk tokens. I will probably get rid of Force of Negation. Those immediately can become 2 more single-target removal spells. Am I trying to cheese wins with Back to Basics? If the answer is no, this can just be my in-out numbers. 3 of these out, 3 of these in. I also could play this in a fair capacity as well. Yeah, I might trim 1 Force of Will. I could also just not do the Fluster. The Fluster is okay, but like Force of Will counters Corey Steelcutter, and I feel like Corey Steelcutter is the way that I die. Like, if I lose this matchup, it's to Corey Steelcutter, make a couple of monks. No cantrip for the Tamiyo. I think I just mulligan this one for more stable mana. Yeah. Love the look of this. The Mentor is the worst thing in my hand as of right now. The Mentor is what I want on, like, turn 5, which is perhaps part of the reason why it's not particularly strong in Legacy right now. Yeah. Fetch. Basic Plains. I'm just going to attempt to take this out immediately before my opponent gets any surveil value, and I do succeed. That is great. Second land drop comes down. That's fine. Fetch happens. And a Ponder. Sending Daze to Graveyard, meaning that a Flow State will be online whenever that ultimately happens. Mentor came back anyway. Let's get a basic land. I kind of just want to Ponder for removal. Playing Tamiyo is also totally fine. Yeah, I'm gonna Ponder. Yeah, that's fine. Bam, bam, bam. No shuffle. And my removal spell resolved last turn. I'm hoping it resolves this turn as well. If my opponent plays something spooky, like Corey Steelcutter, I will Force of Will it, and then just start doing Flow State crimes. My opponent's own Flow State, which will get 2 cards. I think I'll just let it resolve. Clearly a strong play, though. I think I am going to fetch, grab an island, play a Flow State of my own, getting another Flow State, healthy play patterns, and grabbing a Hydroblast. I think I am okay playing this out. And I have decisions to make if my opponent points a Lightning Bolt or Pyroblast at it. Land to Graveyard. I think I let it resolve and Hydroblast it, giving my opponent 1 monk. Alright, there is the Lightning Bolt on Tamiyo, which I think I'm just going to consider okay. I have another win condition in hand. I will take 2. 15. I don't have enough mana for Wrath of the Skies yet. I would like to do Flow State, hit a land drop, and then Hydroblast this Quarry Steelcutter. So I'm going to go ahead and go for that. There's a land drop. The other card could go either way, I think. I think I'm going to put Murktide into my hand because it is blue for Force of Will. So land drop, Hydroblast, Quarry Steelcutter. That is a Force of Will. I will probably force back pitching the Murktide. I could try to clean both of these up next turn with Wrath of the Skies. I don't hate that. I will use my life total as a resource here. Ponder is fine. Land drop is great. Brainstorm is fine. I am going to take 5 or so damage this turn. Like, it is a very real amount of damage I am taking for not Force of Willing and further fighting over immediately removing Quarry Steelcutter. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm taking so much damage. Rather than taking like 2, I'm taking like 7. I'm down to 8. But I'm hoping that I now just win the game. So my opponent could draw Daze, at which point, I don't remember whether or not I am supposed to fetch. No, I cast Flow State, I don't need to. But if my opponent has Daze, I can just Force of Will that, or just hit a land drop. So yeah, get a Plains, make this. I can straight up now play this around Daze. So there's a Wrath of the Skies for X equals 2. We'll pay both. We've got an empty board. And now I will like play a Mentor and Cantrip or play a Murktide Regent and try to take over the game in that capacity. Things are still potentially a little bit dicey, but I'm not super worried. Playing Mentor with Hydroblast backup seems fine, because Lightning Bolt is the thing that is most likely to remove this. All right, we're in play. Prismari Charm, Surveil to draw a card. That's fine. Wasteland to graveyard there. No. Hydroblast. Mentor triggers. Yeah, you can Brainstorm in response. At the very least, that means that Quarry Steelcutter is not triggering this turn. Let's just always yield to this, and always yield to this. Oh, we are fighting further. Pyroblast my Hydroblast. Sure. And I think I will just say no to this and make yet another monk. Now hopefully I just draw a cantrip and basically outright kill my opponent this turn. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's dirty. Well, that's the Monastery Mentor dream, right? Is you untap with a couple of monks in play, you play a cantrip, you chain it into a few cantrips, and my opponent probably doesn't outright die from 17, but they certainly die over the course of 2 turns after a flow state there. GG. Good first round for the deck. Today's video is sponsored by moxfield.com. If you're looking to store your decks online, you're not going to find a better website. It's super organized and easy to use, and I sort everything that I do into a ton of format-specific folders, and you can customize the way that you use Moxfield to your liking. Whether you like text views or visual views of multiple different natures, Moxfield has it all. And it's so easy to use, you might even say that it's a snap. All right, my opening hand is fine. That's kind of where I would draw the line, though. The hand isn't equipped to Brainstorm and then fetch off of the lands that I have. But I have a Swords to Plowshares for a fair matchup. I have a Force of Negation for an unfair matchup. I don't think I mulligan it. And I think I will just go Swords, pass. Well, leave open Swords and pass more accurately. Swamp. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, so we lean towards our opponent being a combo deck, with that being the take there. Which probably means that I am holding open, casting Brainstorm, or just casting Flow State for sub-maximum value here. I think that's what I'm going to do. Let's just fetch, grab an island, and look at 3 cards here, and then next turn, oh. Aren't what I'm looking for. Back to Basics probably doesn't do much in whatever matchup this is. It is a blue card that pitches to Force of Will. I already have basic removal covered, and I already have my next land drop covered. I think I am accordingly taking Back to Basics. with the intention to just put this back via Brainstorm or hold it as something that eventually gets pitched to a Force of Will. We have a Misty Rainforest now. Blue-black Reanimator? Dark Ritual resolves, or just Doomsday? Yeah, it's just Doomsday. We could die now. My opponent having 2 basic lands here. Also kind of sad, like, in theory, if this is an Underground Sea, maybe Surprise Back to Basics does something. Alright, let's take a look. Let's, like, see whether or not my opponent has things like Personal Tutors and Tamiyos. Alright, that is a Street Wraith cycling, unfortunately. But that's all that my opponent is doing. Unless our second main phase hipster? No. Alright, cool. Cavern of Souls is probably a problem here. I will go ahead and Brainstorm. Oh, okay. I put back a Swords and a land, and I think past the turn there, if my opponent sends a Thassa's Oracle that is not going to be lethal in an attempt to just try 2 different Thassa's Oracles, I can Swords the first one and then tap down Cavern. Alright, there is a cycle. And I'm also leaving just attack with Snapcaster Mage as an option. But it sure does look like I am dying immediately. Yeah. Womp womp. Swords to Plowshares out of spite. Get out of here. Still lose to the Thassa's Oracle trigger. GG. Okay. I have some consigns for Thassa's Oracle's triggers. I don't hate that. I don't hate Flusterstorm. I don't hate Disruptor Flute. Lavinia can technically do some things versus Dark Ritual type stuff, but I don't know that I'm excited about that. I will probably keep some amount of spot removal in respect of sideboard Barrogoyf type cards, sideboard Tamiyos. That sort of creature-based plan is becoming less common now that Flow State is a thing. I'm actually going to take a second and look at some recent deck lists. It's not universal, but the Barrogoyfs are still in the sideboard. Maybe I pull like these 4 for some of these tools. I don't know that I am excited about Back to Basics. It is a neat tool versus Cavern of Souls specifically. I could turn them into Lavinia, which again has some value versus Dark Ritual type stuff. I might do that. So I still have 4 outs to Barrogoyf and a decent number of tools for the combo side of the deck. This is fine. I don't know what the data says off the top of my head, but I imagine that my opponent's Flow State combo deck does pretty well versus decks that look like mine. Yeah. I don't mind another land, but none of those things are counterspells. I will just shuffle. We found another land anyway. My kind of hope here is that my opponent just goes like Dark Ritual Barrogoyf. I answer that with 1 card, and my opponent has used 2 resources on it. It's pretty awkward if they Thoughtseize me and take my Brainstorm. Yeah, baby! I will hardcast Ambush Viper. I'll fucking do it. Alright, and it does happen. There is a Lotus Petal. What do you have it now? It's pretty bad for me if you do. Fuck. Yeah. I think we just got punked. So, on the off chance that we navigate this somehow, I can see whether or not there's Barrogoyfs in the deck right now. There's not. We also might be on some Jace Wielder of Mysteries nonsense. Disruptor Flute. Disruptor Flute. Damn. Alright. I suspect that I die immediately. There is a Brainstorm. Swamp comes down. LED comes down. So we're now going to see some sort of Cycler and cracking for blue in response. Yep. Now it is Consider, leaving my opponent with 2 blue mana. And that last card is Thassa's Oracle. We will once again Swords to Plowshare Thassa's Oracle out of spite. And it was just a 2 Thassa's Oracle deck there. Alright. GG. That was not anywhere near close. We got obliterated. Alright, I believe that I've gotten paired against the same player that I played in round 1. Meaning that unless they have changed decks, we're playing against an Is It Tempo deck, and I have Tamiyo Brainstorm, so I'm going to assume that things are fine. Basic? I think I'll just start on the basic, despite the slight awkwardness of Brainstorm here. I just don't want to get wastelanded when I have 2 flow states in hand. Volcanic Island, And Delver comes down. Cool. 3 flow states. In with Tamiyo. aka Clue. Just start the Tamiyo subgame immediately with this many flow states in hand seems fine. I'm gonna make the land drop here and play around days. Alright, very nice. Bam bam. Maybe send 1 flow state down and put the non-blue card on top of my deck. Go ahead and plus Tamiyo up. I didn't actually look at any removal spells there, which is why I played this not only for days purposes, but also to like leave open the ability to Corey. Yeah, I'm gonna force that. Pitch 1 flow state there. Fantastic. Anyway, the ability to remove the Delver if I hit Prismatic Ending, Erode, or Swords to Plowshares. Tamiyo takes a little damage there, but like this distraction subgame is live, which is what I wanted. Excuse me. So my opponent gets their redraw. I will plus with Tamiyo. I really just want to find a removal spell. If I made it to my turn with Force of Will in hand still, I could like play Mentor. I don't think that's the line here. Let's just go ahead and brainstorm looking for a removal spell. That is a removal spell. Mentor 2 down. Flow state on top. Undra. Prismatic Ending on Delver here. Excellent. I've used Tamiyo. I'll pass the turn here. And now I have a sorcery in graveyard for these 2 copies of Flow State. Excellent. Yeah, anything that is not going to the board immediately is a big deal. I would prefer not to Force of Will. I might need to, but I would prefer not to. Flow to white. We'll now change phases. I think I just let that resolve. I would like to start doing this stuff. Hit my land drops, find more removal spells. Days. That is fine. Plus with Tamiyo. And pass turn. Delver triggers. Does not flip, meaning that Delver makes no progress on Tamiyo. And if I plus Tamiyo again, I then get to ultimate Tamiyo the following turn. Ooh. We'll go ahead and Force of Will that. Delver gets in there for a whopping 0 points of damage. I draw this Mentor, which is not currently very good. Just plus Tamiyo and ultimate the following turn. Seems good. There's haste in the deck, but I've used 2 of these already. I don't know. Delver could blind flip. I could just Tamiyo minus, stay at 3 loyalty, ending Delver. That's fine. Like, just assuming that if I prolong this game, I win, not set myself up for an awkward time. This does mean that Tamiyo is lightning boltable. Opponent brainstorms, makes a land drop, bolts Tamiyo. I still just have a clue token, a Monastery Mentor, and a stocked graveyard. I'm hoping this is all just fine. Yeah, those are good cards. I will play the land immediately, draw one of these, and then get the other the next turn, so I don't think it matters the order in which I put these. Land drop, draw immediately, and pass turn. 2 Quarry Steel Cutters are gone, which is really nice. But Murktide Regent could still be awkward specifically, because Prismatic Ending doesn't answer it. But like, this answers the other threats that my opponent can bring to the table, so I think it is fine. This eats a Lightning Bolt. This also eats a Lightning Bolt. This is a better use of my mana. I think I'm just going to tap out for this and offer it up to my opponent's various spells. Oh, no immediate Lightning Bolt. Alright, that's fine. I mean, I'll do it again. Lightning Bolt being in my opponent's hand is not surprising, right? Because they were, like, very much not playing threats. So things like Lightning Bolts, situational counterspells, stifle effects, things like that are what they are probably bringing to the table. Yep, Daze. So that Daze was probably drawn on that turn since it wasn't used to counter Mentor. Ponder is fine. And this is where, like, my opponent ripping a flow state could be pretty bad. Yeah, just like that. So I have used a few of my own flow states already, and honestly have just bricked off the last couple of turns. And we'll send in for 2. So my opponent could do something like have a Murktide Regent with Force of Will backup, and it could be very bad for me. I'll answer that with Prismatic Ending. That's okay. Alright, cool. At least it's not like Lightning Bolt. Also remove the Mentor before I get a Prowess Monk out of it. Taking 2 in combat is not a big deal. Like, this is turn 10, and I am at 17 before I take this hit. Like, life's okay. Volcanic Island into DRC. Yep, seems good. Not the cantrip that I'm looking for. Ending on Quarry Steelcutter, trigger my monks. Yeah, and yeah. I don't think I want to offer up that trade. I think I'll pass the turn here. And this is kind of where, like, not having a Surveil land is a big deal. Its flow states are so good right now. Wasteland is fine. Unholy Heat is not fine. I don't have a blue card to pair with Force of Will right now. Fuck. Yeah, flow state, finding flow state, finding flow state is a good chain of events. And a bobble. I'm taking so much this turn. I might just, like, block and gain 5 life here. I don't know that I get better value than that out of this monk token. I am down to 12. Yeah, I think just 3 flow states chained together like that is going to beat me. That is another land. I'll hold that one for brainstorm purposes, I guess. I will respond to that and Force of Will it. This is dazable, but I'm trying to hold this to get some extra value. Prowess trigger. Monastery Mentor is now such a bad top deck without a cantrip to go with it. I'm at 6. All right, now it's my turn. I think I'm going to leave open both white mana here and cast Flow State. All right. 3 islands, 3 plains, 1 more island. Okay, I have 5 basic islands, so this can still fetch something. So 1 and 2. Cast a Brainstorm. Okay. Put back 1 and 2. Bam. Erode the DRC. Brainstorming in response. Solve? Alright, cool. My opponent does get a shuffle for their Brainstorm, though. And then I will just ending this token. Cool. I maybe should have fetched prior to that on the off chance that my opponent has Daze, so that they can't wasteland my fetch land. I fetch in response, and then Daze is live on that card. Alright, leading on Ponder, dazing their own Ponder to return their Thundering Falls to hand for a little extra value is reasonable. But if they already had that Daze, then they had that exact line that I was talking about available to them, right? The Daze could have been their draw for turn, though. So now Thundering Falls happens. Delta to Graveyard. It is time. That is an 8/8 Murktide Regent that will kill me if I do not top deck an answer to it, and I do have to shuffle here. See what happens. Back to basics is not what I am looking for at this stage of the game. I am dead. Flow state into flow state into flow state. Just totally recovered this game from my opponent after my active Tamiyo for 4 or 5 turns, whatever that was. GG. We're looking at this and the Hydroblasts and the Erode previously, I think. And I think I decided I wasn't trying to win with back to basics. I didn't want Force of Negation. And I think that's where we settled before. All right. I've kept a little bit of a weird opening hand in that I have no ability to sculpt it, but I just have 3.5 removal spells here, with the Wrath of the Skies currently being a half since it's not online. Did get a package, so lost a minute or so of my clock. I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to remove that with Prismatic Ending. Prismatic Ending does not remove Murktide Regent, so if I can hold the swords until later in the game, that would be preferable. Hey, another swords. We are very, very heavy on single target removal spells in this deck, so it is not overly surprising that we end up with a hand that looks like this. The goal is to, like, use 1 instant, 1 sorcery of these, and then all of a sudden our flow states are on. Cool, no immediate threat. I will keep dropping lands. 3rd land drop comes down from my opponent, and we're just going to stare at each other for a little while, which is probably favorable to me. I'll keep dropping the basics. I can play the Tundra the turn that I play Wrath of the Skies. Brainstorm is fine. Delver is fine. And I think I will Swords the Delver just to put an instant in my graveyard. And now we're looking for the flow state type cards that can give me card advantage. I don't think I want any of that. This is the point where the like Flow States, the Tamiyos, maybe not quite Murktide Regent yet. I'm looking for that sort of stuff that give me card advantage. Mentor also not really good here because I don't have a follow-up spell. And I think the fact that like Monastery Mentor doesn't feel like a good draw in the late game, which I'm considering us in the late game now, is probably an indicator that we should not just outright be playing that card. I will hold Tundra to put back with a Brainstorm, I think. I have 5 land drops in play. That is probably enough for right now. Yeah, that is fine. My opponent has hit their flow states first. They're at 9 cards in hand, so they can, like, play a threat or whatever, and maybe discard. Yeah, they are discarding a card. I won't even play anything to not give them a chance to, like, use a spell effectively. Alright. I'll do that. And ending away the DRC. Kind of unfortunate thing here is that, like, when I find a Tamiyo or a flow state, I think it's pretty likely to get pyroblasted. There is another flow state. 8 cards in hand after playing the land drop. Another threat comes down. Probably just swords that. Yeah. Alright. I'll hold that land. Holding 1 for Brainstorm seems good to me. But if I never just draw a flow state, my opponent, who has cast 2 flow states already, is going to kind of maintain their lead, and they're not vomiting things into play to let me get a blowout with Wrath of the Skies. Murktide resolves. It is a medium-sized Murktide, leaving some stuff in graveyard, so there's probably going to be another one in a minute. I'm going to Swords this one and send it to exile, so it's not going to graveyard to make the other one easier to cast. Alright, there is a Brainstorm that can let me put back this land. Very nice. I will put back land here. And I will fetch, but I don't think I'm going to do so immediately. I don't know that I am casting this Brainstorm. This Brainstorm may, emphasis on may, be used to back up Force of Will. I also, in theory, could hardcast the Force of Will. Doing so is dazable in my opponent's giant hand, so I don't think I am in love with that idea. Alright, there's the second Murktide Regent that I correctly predicted. This one is a 6/6. I will erode it. Successfully destroyed. My opponent does get a basic. And then I will fetch out another land. I guess it can be another plains on the off chance that I need to Wrath of the Skies and to do something else in the same turn cycle. I would really prefer not to use Force of Will as Force of Will. Again, I just think it gets pyroblasted. I think I'm going to Brainstorm and look for a flow state at a point where my opponent does not have Pyroblast available. I can play Mentor with Murktide backup and the ability... Sorry, Mentor with Force of Will backup and the ability to sword something on my opponent's side. This just, like, surely eats a Lightning Bolt. I might keep this in hand, but not cast it. I'm going to put back Force Murktide Regent and pass the turn. Just keep my answers to my opponent's creatures, prolong the game, and hope that I eventually find my flow states, which I just haven't seen in the first half of my deck. Sure. And I will fetch away that Murktide, grabbing an island. Again, looking for flow states, looking for things that I can do with Mentor immediately when I play Mentor. Snapcaster Swords, Snapcaster Ponder, Snapcaster Erode. I think I'm chilling. I would very much like Snapcaster Mage to just be an additional flow state. Ori Steel Cutter. Yeah, that's fine. There's Brainstorm. And Bobble. Just going to take the 3 off of this. Go to 13. Alright, that's a good draw. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Attempt Wrath of the Skies to clear Ori Steel Cutter. That is a Force of Will. Alright, that occurs. Do I Hydroblast immediately? Nah, I think that's pretty likely to give my opponent another monk and make me take more damage. I'm going to pass the turn here. Snapcaster can end up being another Wrath of the Skies. Ugh. The difference between having the flow states and not having the flow states is so huge. Ponder occurs. Ori Steel Cutter does its thing. I think I am planning on attempting to fight over that at the beginning of combat step. so that Quarry Steel Cutter can't be manually moved. So let's attempt to destroy the Quarry Steel Cutter. Pyroblast happens. That's a lot of damage. So I can go Snapcaster Mage and Wrath of the Skies around Daze. That doesn't resolve. I probably just die. Maybe I need his swords to save some life here. That's just like not worth countering on my opponent's end. This is just not great for me. All right, opponent draws. Okay, that is another way to play ball here. I am down with trying to play ball like that. Again, I could just get Hydroblasted though. I do. At which point, I now probably do this. Yeah. I don't think I play this out. Yeah, I think this game came down to my opponent resolved flow states, and I didn't. Like, I had all of the single target removal in the world, but I never drew a flow state. Well, until here. And I never had a Tamiyo for a card advantage. And I never had, like, Mentor plus cantrips to do. I am taking most of my life total as damage here. I think I need a Wrath of the Skies or I'm dead. Oh, maybe I'm just dead right now. Yeah, so that's 9 damage plus Lightning Bolt. I got absolutely slaughtered this time around. I think that was just poor variance on my end. Like, I had some decisions that I could do differently, but, like, I didn't draw this stuff. And I looked at a large number of cards in my deck. GG's, I believe we are now at a negative record. Alright, I have Tamiyo Brainstorm backed by Force of Will. I think I just keep it and hope that we hit a land in the first couple of turns. Bam, and bam. I think once I hit one land, and I can, like, crack a clue or whatever, I'm just good. Let's force that. On we go. Mentor is not what I am looking for. I have 2 single target removal spells against what is probably like an energy deck or something in that general ballpark. And I get a turn 2 flipped Tamiyo. Oh, very nice. Mentor goes back. I think Ponder is just going to go back. Tamiyo transforms. Tamiyo pluses. I do think this one needs to be a non-basic though. And I will get Tamiyo Creature back. Totally reasonable Magic the Gathering. Oh, Beans? That one resolves. Now we're just trying to ultimate Tamiyo. Read on this being energy was wrong. Lol, 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 lol. There's Tamiyo. This Tamiyo to 6. Opponent gave us the haha in chat. Yeah. Totally fair Magic card. Opponent says the clues will continue until morale improves. Yeah, no, it sounds about right. Opponent can brainstorm. The nice thing here is that I have the instant speed Swords to Plowshares for if my opponent is an Orcish Bowmaster's deck. Alright, I mean, 3rd Swords to Plowshares is only fair for 3 Tamiyos, right? Not quite to Murktide. Let's crack this clue, see if I hit my land drop. I do. Tamiyo. 2/8. Cards like Erode exist that could answer my Tamiyo as a singular card. The easiest way I see myself losing is to Orcish Bowmasters with Force of Will backup. Riddler resolves. Land drop. Fetching. Yep, it is Beans. I am going to be drawing half of my deck. We don't lose from there. Yeah. So I would like to play back to basics with Force of Will backup now, which I'm assuming that I have drawn a Force of Will somewhere in here. Yeah, I have 2 Force of Wills. Seems good. Back to basics. There is a Force of Will. You may draw your card. Here is a Force of Will. Pitching, I don't know, a Ponder. Alright, that's just resolved. Are we done here? No? Okay. Marsh Flats. I will continue to plus this Tamiyo because she is still in play. Play a land drop. Play a Monastery Mentor. Play a Ponder. Triggers. Yeah, sure. That's fine. I played a land. Pass turn. Yeah. The game was over when I ultimated Tamiyo. The game was over again when I played back to basics. The game was over a 3rd time when I did Monastery Mentor. Like, I don't care if you Leyline Binding away this. Like, look at this hand. I didn't even have it all on screen. There was so much. GG. Lavinia is kind of funny here. I might play Lavinia. I don't think I want Force of Negation. It's a little expensive to just hardcast. Prismatic endings for like Beans or Uro is fine. I need some amount of Swords to Plowshares, Erode type stuff. I know that I have Quantum Riddler and Thalia type stuff sometimes comes along with that. I don't think I hate Lavinia. Like, turn off my opponent's Force of Wills, make their Leyline Bindings incredibly awkward. I could play Fluster to help back to basics. Like, go down a Prismatic Ending and play a Fluster. That's pretty reasonable. This is a long enough game where this is fine. Like, it's not the turn 1 Tamiyo of my dreams or anything, but this is fine. Bayou means I'm going to get Thought Seized and lose my back to basics, at which point my hand is pretty bad. But we have time. I will just cast this now. Ooh, nice. Bam, 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 and pass turn. I will Force of Will and up the Beanstalk here if my opponent plays one. There's a lot of long-term card advantage if I can't start turning the corner on this game quickly. That seems like it is worth 2 of my cards. All right, bam, and bam. I do fully expect this Tamiyo to die. Maybe the Monastery Mentor that is on top of my library won't die. All right, land drop and pass. That still doesn't mean that Tamiyo gets to attack, but maybe. Endurance exists. In we go. Oh, cool. Everything just worked. Wasn't expecting that. Basic Plains. I think since I can just draw, I will. I will just crack this immediately. Oh boy. Oh, they just let me attack. Sure. I mean, I got a clue out of this one. I didn't need to. I'll consider that a massive win. I'm going to save that to do next turn with Mentor. Opponent's Brainstorm is fine. I bet their rationale was they didn't want me to, like, draw into a Brainstorm that protects it. But if they're worried about it, I don't know, maybe you just do it on your own turn where it is safer. Opponent does have a Basic Plains here. And, you know, an amount of cards in hand where when this comes back, they can potentially draw 2 cards with it immediately. All right. Fetch. Island. Mentor. Immediately ponder. Trigger the monks. Yeah, that's fine. Like, this is why I waited. I still have a prowess token, which is worth something. That's not a very good mentor. I think I just shuffle that. I could keep it because it is Mentor and the ability to Swords Riddler. I guess that's fine. It's just not impressive. But it may just be what I need to do. Like, I assume that my opponent hits the next land drop and plays Riddler. Okay. So the good news here is they have 2 cards in hand right now, so they are only drawing 1 off of that rather than 2. That's legitimately nice. So I will now clear the card that I don't want off the top of my library. Play a new Mentor. Opponent forces. That's fine. That means that I get to remove the Quantum Riddler with swords. Yeah. Prowess. And now we're in a pretty even top deck war, where my opponent has Riddlers to draw. I have Flow States to draw. If they also have Flow States in their deck, the tiebreaker goes to them, though. Tamiyo is a bullshit magic card. Happy to draw it. The monk does get in for damage. I'm going to play Tamiyo. I think I'll hold the Tundra, though. All right, ending is fair. My chip damage from the monk will maybe add up. Yuck. In for 1. Opponent to 16. We are transitioning into a nice, slow control mirror. Opponent also flooding out a little bit. Do I have 6 different colors for Leyline Binding? No. Rough. Why not? In for 1. 15. Do you have like a Mystic Sanctuary or anything? Or is this just a Surveil land? It is just a Surveil land. Opponent says no to Leyline Binding. Yeah, I don't think you want to use a 1-for-1 removal spell on the monk token if you can help it. Ooh, that's another land for my opponent. Fuck! Come on! I will hold both of those for Brainstorm. In for 1. 13. No play from my opponent. Alright. We both got an awful lot of nothing going on. Good God, deck. In for 1. Down to 12. Pass turn. Donde está el Flow State? What a ridiculous set of flooding. Yeah, there we go. on both sides of the table. There's Flow State. I would not be surprised if my opponent hardcasts a Force of Will here. Yep, they've got to have something, right? I will get in for 2 points of damage. Opponent to 10. Fetches again. Do you have more Surveil lands? You do. Ooh, they kept a card. That's probably bad for me. Yeah, so that is a Quantum Riddler that will draw 2 cards immediately. And then it can go to Warp and be used for 2 more cards in a minute. Oh yeah, my hand is also shit, friend. UNTAP decked Riddler. Ponder's good. Another Ponder. And Riddler warps out. Oh my god. Oh my god. Alright. I mean, at that point, I will make a land drop. What a... what a game. When it says the little monk that could. Yeah. The little monk that tried its fucking best. And then ate it to a fucking Sphinx on turn 13. Sure. And just, like, again, talking about Monastery Mentor as a top deck at this point would be abysmal, whereas something that looks like this as a top deck is batshit insane, right? My opponent is getting so much value off of these Riddlers, and now has Beans established as well. So one of these warps out. I'm not dead yet by any stretch of the imagination, but, like, let's be realistic. I should have done this before the Beanstalk draw resolved. I was in the middle of complaining. You've got it. Opponent is up to 6 cards in hand to my effective 0 cards in hand. Has Uro as well. The only boon for me here is that 3 of the copies of Force of Will are already gone. My stuff is a little more likely to resolve at this point. So I would need, like, Brainstorm, shuffle these away. Thanks, deck. Anyway, Brainstorm, shuffle the bad stuff away, win a fight over a back to basics, keep all those lands tapped down, and then try to start answering Riddlers. Fluster also, perhaps not the optimal turn 15 draw. There is Uro. Uro double Riddler Beans. Seems respectable. I will take 8. I am dead next turn. My god! I don't know that loss was on me. Like, I like to own up to my mistakes, but holy fuck. GG. What a disaster. I think I am okay with the tools that I am bringing to the table. Like, I maybe could go down a touch on some of the spot removal. I'm treating this as removal for Up the Beanstalk and Uro, and the other ones as removal for Quantum Riddler. That does not cast my spells. Jesus. Alright, I am going to risk this rather than go to 5. I will get rid of Murktide Regent here. I'm gonna go land drop and pass. I would really like to cast the Lavinia on my turn 2, but I don't want to Brainstorm lock myself. I'm gonna get a card deeper before I cast this Brainstorm. I will cast it on my own main phase if I don't hit a land drop. Alright, 3 looks at a land. You know, that's just how this one was gonna be. That's just how this one was going to be. I'm going to concede there rather than time walk myself twice, and I'm just going to assume that my opponent wins that one. Good God, I could not catch a break there. Although I do want to admit that I thought, like, maybe I could add 1 more land to the deck, but, you know, game 2 there, well, like, I just hit pretty much every land in the deck. All right, such is life. Let's try to put some more wins on the board with Mentor in the final round. GG. All right, opening hand is fine. I have a Tamiyo backed by Force of Will, which is a stupid thing to exist, and I have a Flow State, which I would prefer to cast once I put a sorcery into my graveyard. Bloodstained Mire. Womp. Thoughtseize resolves. My opponent is a combo deck. I still have a Force of Will left over. They are a fair deck. I don't super care about what they just did. Alright, I have lost 1 Force of Will. Lotus Petal resolves. We are potentially playing against something like Doomsday. In with Tamiyo. I think I will just play the Tundra here. And I guess pass the turn with the intention of cracking the clue with my mana. Could be some Reanimator nonsense. I've been seeing a little bit more of that in leagues. Yeah. Did you randomly spike the creature? They did. Tilt. Tilt, 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 tilt. Unmask targeting me. Resolves. Lose the Force of Will. I now need to randomly spike a Force of Will right here. Alright, that is an Animate Dead. No, go away. I will draw Force of Will right here. Get fucked, nerd! One lucky string deserves another. Oh, and Brainstorm? Sick. Yeah? You just have to Yu-Gi-Oh! That shit to the top of your deck. Brainstorm. Finding Flow State? I don't have a sorcery in my graveyard. I have 3 of my Force of Wills in my graveyard. Put back 1 and 2. Tamiyo pluses to 4. And then I'm just going to Flow State past those lands. All right, pick up another one. Any order. If my opponent doesn't reanimate Grizzlebrand, I can Tamiyo minus and pick up Force of Will to have some protection again. Unmask, targeting me. Goodbye, Tamiyo. Last card reanimation. Yeah! Fuck. My opponent now gets 7 cards. Thanks, I hate it. Underground Sea comes down. I will ponder to put a sorcery into my graveyard. Nope to that shit. That is a land, unfortunately. I will now Tamiyo minus to grab Flow State. Now I want a Swords, land drop, Flow State for 2 of these 3 cards. Whiff. Yeah. I can ponder. Okay, I did find a Swords. I will leave that on top of my deck. I will go like bam, bam, bam. No shuffle. What an insane game already. Just every possible, like, lucky, unlucky thing has just happened. Alright, I am not taking 7 damage immediately, which is cool. But my opponent can have a 14-card grip. Where's my lightning bolt? Looting gets to bin this stuff, and whatever happens here is happening. Archon of Cruelty and a new Grizzlebrand to graveyard. I will get unmasked again. Losing Brainstorm. Dark Ritual. Collective Brutality, making me discard the Prismatic Ending. Collective Brutality is a neat card that doesn't see a lot of play. It is sometimes quite good in the Reanimator shells because you can escalate it to discard cards. You can take something that might be removal while like draining a little bit. It does a lot. Another Animate Dead. Just get a Tamiyo as well. So I can Swords and answer one of these 2. But I imagine that then beats me. What was the other card under here? I don't remember. It was just a land. Why I don't remember. I guess I Swords Grizzlebrand. I can take 8. The issue there is, like, I remove the Grizzlebrand that can give my opponent 7 cards, but then I have taken a legendary creature out of play, and there's another Grizzlebrand in the graveyard. So, like, shit's bad, basically. I'm at 11. Opponent's attack step is worth 2 cards, 1 from each of those. Lotus Petal, Bloodstained Mire, and pass. I don't have a Surveil land, so whatever we draw is whatever we draw. Very dead. Very, very dead. GG. Alright. Probably not trying to cheese wins with Back to Basics. Probably not caring about Prismatic Ending, despite the fact that it does stuff versus Animate Dead. We're probably just trying to stop that from happening in the first place. I'm interested in Priest and Fluster. Disruptor Flute is mid. I can consider it. I might play Lavinia to help out with Unmask, and it technically does stuff versus Artifact mana as well. Consign has text. Additional copies of Erode technically do stuff as well. I want to consign like Animate Dead triggers. It's okay. I think I'll play 1. I don't know that I'm going to do more than that. It feels like I have to use all of my mana to just make land drops here. I don't know that this is better than just mulliganing to something that has some lands and maybe a Containment Priest. 1 land and a Containment Priest is the best we can offer you, boss. Alright. Keep, pitch that, and I don't know, cover the graveyard, lose to show and tell. Feels kind of like where I'm at. I could get rid of 1 Containment Priest and keep. End of turn, Brainstorm for my land, have Force of Will for a discard spell. Alright, that's what we're doing. Bloodstained Mire comes down. There is a Thoughtseize. I am going to cast Brainstorm off of Ponder immediately. Because if I can just, like, hit my land drop and hide Containment Priest on top, beautiful. So I will put back land I'd Containment Priest on top. You can take my Force of Will. And I have hidden my important thing, Vista and Pass. Badlands. Unmask. Targeting me. I will respond. Get an island. Flash in Containment Priest. And this is going to cover the graveyard as well as show and tell type stuff. So, like, we're good in the short term. There are lines where my opponent can just, like, hardcast an Arcana Cruelty off of a couple Dark Rituals. Oh, there's some fun tech that doesn't see a lot of play in the form of Stronghold Gambit. Each player chooses a card in their hand, then reveals the chosen card. The owner of each creature card revealed this way at the lowest mana value puts it onto the battlefield. So that is a piece of tech that Reanimator players will sometimes use versus extremely creature-light decks. This doesn't see a lot of play anymore because, like, legacy control decks play a lot more creatures than they used to, just because there's now a bunch of stupid post-fire design creatures. Your, Tamiyos and your Bowmasters and your Riddlers and your Felias are things that you pretty normally see from these sorts of decks. So, no sorcery yet. Yeah, in for 2 points of damage. I might just, like, blue token here. Hit a land drop. I'm okay with flow stating. We'll get one of each of my basics here. Well, tough choice. I think I will take a Tamiyo. Mostly so that if I transform this Tamiyo, I can have the creature version as well. Like, it's not doing me a lot of favors right now. Delta to graveyard. And opponent's passing the turn. This is great. I can't tell exactly how much this Containment Priest is doing, but it's certainly doing a lot. In we go. And now I have to, like, decide whether or not I'm cracking the clue or just playing Mentor. I think I'm just cracking the clue. I don't know that Mentor is going to be lethal next turn or anything. Well, we'll do both, I guess. That worked out pretty well. All right, there is the concession from our opponent. GG. So now that I know about Stronghold Gambit, I could just increase the density of creatures in my deck slightly by playing 2 copies of Lavinia. I don't hate that. Like, play 2 Lavinia over 2 Erodes that destroy the creature and send it back to the graveyard. That seems okay to me. The Containment Priests that are, like, in this deck to be pointed at, like, show and tell decks, catching this deck with a Stray is kind of nice. My opening hand is fine, but doesn't do anything to stop my opponent's combo nonsense. I maybe just mulligan this. Or I could just say, like, hey, if you turn 1 me, you turn 1 me. Maybe I keep it. Like, if my opponent is just starting by thought seizing me, I just simply don't care. Looting does resolve, though. Grizzlebrand to yard. Lotus Petal. Lotus Petal. Thought seize, target me. If my opponent has reanimate, like, they get it. Yeah, they had turn 1 reanimate with backup. That is very unfortunate for me. Opponent now, like, has a new 7, technically 8 card grip, so they could just discard another card here to hand size and be ready to do it again. No, I am getting unmasked instead, and I have lost my ability to cantrip. This sucks. Maybe if I mulligan to Force of Will, I Force of Will this Faithless Looting, and maybe this doesn't happen. I'm going to just block. I don't really have mana to be cracking the clues right now anyway. Maybe the way that I win is just buying time to naturally draw Swords to Plowshares for Grizzlebrand, and my opponent has no way to do anything else with their 14 cards. But it sure seems like I lost. Archon and Atraxa to graveyard. I will concede to the second creature hitting play. I don't have anything like Terminus that can answer 2 of these at the same time efficiently. Yeah, I am comfortable conceding to the second creature hitting play. That was kind of a funny round overall. The first game was just back and forth luck sacks. The second game was a Containment Priest Slaughterfest, and the third game I didn't play Magic. GG. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Pretty mediocre. Monastery Mentor being such a bad top deck at most stages of the game, I think is enough where I don't want to be playing Monastery Mentor. Like, in terms of the curve, there is a very, very big difference between tapping out on turn 2 for Corey Steelcutter and tapping out on turn 3 for Monastery Mentor. That one turn just makes so much of a difference. And this as an artifact is slightly more difficult to remove than the body of Monastery Mentor. That, like, this is a mana cheaper and harder to remove. Your curve is so much better here. Like, I just don't really see a strong reason to be playing Monastery Mentor. We did have a back to basics savage moment or two in the league where, like, being a very strong base blue-white deck, we can play back to basics very aggressively. But, like, why not just play something that wins the game easier? I feel like my deck needed more card advantage than what it had. I don't think Flow State was enough. Like, there's no Planeswalkers here, there's no Quantum Riddlers here. Like, when I had Tamiyos and Flow States going, the deck felt very good, and when I didn't, I often would have an awkward assortment of cards and not quite be able to string things together. I don't know that I played a Murktide Regent in the entire league. Like, it just didn't line up. Like, it was something that I was pitching to Force of Wills or throwing back in the deck because I wasn't ready for it yet. So, William, we tried to make a Monastery Mentor deck. I think I did an okay job. If I ran it again, I would probably play a 21st land. Just having 2 lands in the opener feels incredibly important. And I would maybe turn Murktide Regents into Quantum Riddlers. Like, Murktide can just, like, take over the game and 2-shot your opponent, but it feels like this deck was dragging things on for a very long time. And when that happens, maybe Riddler is better. But then I guess at that point, the question you have to ask is, like, is this better than playing, like, the blue-white Quantum Riddler Felia shell that also has the ability to just accidentally keep their Quantum Riddlers as of turn 2 or turn 3? So for nostalgia's sake, we gave Monastery Mentor a day of glory, but I don't know that it earned its keep. Alright folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, consider leaving a like on the way out or a comment. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and if you have a deck you want to see on the channel, the donation deck list information is available in every video description. Have a great day! See ya!